News Radio 1000 KTOK AM and KXXY FM 96.1 HD2, Oklahoma City.
The winners, the losers, we have Super Tuesday results. I'm Jacqueline Scott in the KTOK News Center. It'll feel like early spring today. Our forecast is coming up. It's Ted Cruz for Oklahoma Republicans, Bernie Sanders for Oklahoma Democrats. Cruz bested Donald Trump by about 27,000 votes. Marco Rubio came in third for Republicans. Sanders had a commanding lead over Democrat Hillary Clinton. He led in Oklahoma by more than 34,000 votes. Ted Cruz won the Oklahoma Republican primary on Tuesday, and supporter Brandon Baumgarten of Oilton couldn't be happier.
I think it's pretty awesome. I know he came and did a rally the other day, and I think he really connected with a lot of people here.
Brandon was in Oklahoma City last night for the Republican Watch Party. He says Cruz's message on conservatism and his ability to project his message in a positive way connected with the people in Oklahoma. On the Democratic side, Oklahomans supporting Bernie Sanders had an exciting Super Tuesday Watch Party. KTOK's Calvin Wright was there.
Many Democrats apparently believe relief, recovery, and reform, the mantra of President Franklin D. Roosevelt. And Democrat Joe Davis of Shawnee says that's why she supports Bernie Sanders for president.
He is not bought and paid for. He's not for sale. He voted against the Iraq War. He votes for the policies that I believe in. I think he's an FDR Democrat.
Davis says she wasn't at all surprised that Sanders was able to pour more delegates in Oklahoma than Hillary Clinton.
It wasn't what Dylan Dillingham of Hera wanted to hear last night, that Ted Cruz won the Oklahoma Republican primary. He's a Trump supporter.
I'm disappointed in that because Cruz been in D.C. for a long time, and he has not accomplished much while he's been there. Instead of career politicians, we need leaders that can make things happen and help Americans.
He was at the Republican Watch Party in Oklahoma City last night. He says Donald Trump would create jobs for America, help veterans, and unite people. Former Chesapeake CEO Aubrey McClendon indicted by a federal grand jury in Oklahoma City. The indictment alleges McClendon orchestrated a conspiracy between two large oil and gas companies to not bid against one another for the purchase of certain oil and gas leases in northwest Oklahoma. The Department of Justice says during the conspiracy from December 2007 to March 2012, the conspirators would allegedly decide ahead of time which company would win the leases. The winning bidder would allocate an interest in the leases to the other company. The Department of Justice says McClendon allegedly led a conspiracy to suppress prices paid to leaseholders in northwest Oklahoma. After pleading guilty to embezzling money from an economic development agency in Mississippi, former state Senator J. Paul Gum of Durant is getting 2 years probation. In 2013, he was arrested on charges of embezzling $24,000 from the Stone County Economic Development Partnership. Gum entered the plea on Monday in Mississippi. He represented Senate District 6 in Oklahoma from 2002 to 2010. From the KTOK Weather Center and the forewarned storm team, it'll be partly cloudy today with a high of 70. Those south winds will be brisk at 30 miles an hour with gusts up to 45 miles an hour. Tonight will be partly cloudy with a low of 44. On Thursday, partly cloudy with a high of 66, more north winds at 25 miles an hour with higher gusts possible. And tomorrow night will be partly cloudy with a low of 38. It's partly cloudy and 43 right now at the KTOK News Center. Your next news update at 5:30. I'm Jacqueline Scott, News Radio 1000, KTOK.
News Radio 1000 KTOK. Studios of service of Universal Men's Clinic for medical solutions for ED and low T. Learn more at universalmensclinic.com.
Super Tuesday, the results and what it all means, all coming up on News Radio 1000 KTOK's Matthews in the Morning, which officially kicks off your Wednesday peak of the week in 2 minutes.
Now, a year in rock spotlight from 1977. September of 77, American duo Steely Dan released their sixth album, Asia. It goes to number 3 in the States on the strength of 2 top 20 hits, Peg and Deacon Blues. In October, the major label debut album by Meatloaf is released, hits number 14 in the U.S., and goes on to be one of the best-selling albums of all time. Leonard Skinner released the album Street Survivor. 3 days later, singer Ronnie Van Zant and 2 other band members are killed in a plane crash. The album goes to number 5 in the States, and the single What's Your Name hits number 13.
What's your name, little girl? What's your name?
In November, Eric Clapton's Slow Hand is released. It goes to number 2, driven by 3 hit singles, Cocaine, Wonderful Tonight, and Lay Down Sally.
Lay down, Sally, and rest you in my arms. Don't you think you want someone to talk to?
Keep listening to iHeartRadio for more. From 1977, coming up.
Everyone is talking about healthcare these days. America spends twice that of other developed countries on our healthcare system, yet our health ranks near the bottom. How can we stop spending so much and getting so little? By shifting to a system that gives more patients access to strong primary care. Patients with a primary care doctor live longer, healthier lives and are less likely to suffer from cancer, heart disease, or stroke. Primary care can help make America healthy again. To learn more about the benefits of primary care, visit www.healthisprimary.org. This message is brought to you by America's Family Physicians.
The conversation starts here. News Radio 1000 KTOK. Hey, no more snoozing. Time to get up. Get out of bed. On your way. With News Radio 1000 KTOK and Lee Matthews in the morning.
We never go out of style. We never go out of style.
Very stylish Lee Matthews in the morning. This morning on News Radio 1000 KTOK. Hey, look at me. My ball cap and shirt match. Lovely wife does such a good job of dressing me. I'd have never gotten this combination right. I tell you, no, she doesn't lay it out for me, but she does hang it next to each other in the closet. Here, wear this, you idiot. You color-challenged idiot. 840-1000 star 1000 on News Radio 1000 KTOK. Peak of the week, March 2nd. Here it is. And we're after a Super Tuesday. I've got some reflections to talk about, some analysis coming up too. And I've already got a lot of questions coming my way via social media. So we'll try to get to all of this. I think a lot of people are happy because Cruz carried Oklahoma. Unfortunately, in the grand scheme of things, I'm not sure that's going to... Well, you know what? It will mean something by the time we get to the Republican convention. Hillary did not dominate in Oklahoma, and I think that means the opposite of what everybody else thinks. That does not mean that all the Democrats in Oklahoma are supporters of Bernie Sanders. It does mean that the effect of the independent vote to try to get rid of Hillary is starting to rear its ugly head. So all this we'll get into on News Radio 1000 KTOK, Facebook and Twitter as usual. And I've also got my interviews from yesterday of Glenn Beck, Ivanka Trump, and also my ode to the mummified yachtsman. I was accused overnight of Gordon Lightfooting this poor yachtsman. If you'll recall, Gordon Lightfoot in 1974 wrote an ode to the Edmund Fitzgerald. The load of iron Horton, it's times more, and the good Mitch and Mum get you goomy. Well, I wrote my own version for this mummified yachtsman. You can hear it at KTOK.com. Exclusive web content at 8 past 5 o'clock, 5:08, 43 degrees. Your forecast coming up in 3 minutes. And Randy Rayner, the OU Sooners hung on last night. They hung on. They played through the pain.
Tom Miller said it looked like OU came out, started the game in their own uniforms, and then went in at halftime and came out as somebody else. And it certainly
the Washington
did look that
Generals.
Way. They looked a lot more like the Washington Generals than they did the Oklahoma Sooners, that's for sure. OU led by 26 in the first half, and generally in a college basketball game, you're up by 26. You're winning that thing fairly easily. Well, OU did win, but it wasn't easy because Baylor came back from that 26-point deficit, actually led by 2 with a little over 3 minutes to go. But the Sooners ended up holding on and winning 73-71. OU in the first half ripped off a 26-1 run. And in the second half, Baylor ripped off a 22-1 run. And so much different halves there. And in between, Blake Griffin, his number 23 retired. And incidentally, that's the second time at the University of Oklahoma that the jersey with number 23 on it has been retired.
Really? Okay.
Yes, a guy that perhaps you've heard of, Wayman Tisdale, was the first number 23 retired, and then Blake Griffin, who was a big fan of Wayman Tisdale.
Oh, I didn't realize that's why he was 23. So
yes. Asked if that jersey might be available, and in talks with Wayman's family, they agreed to let Blake Griffin wear that, and so he did, and so now 23 has been retired again, and presumably this will be the last
forever
time
and ever,
that anybody wears number 23 at OU. So Sooners with a big win. The OU women also won yesterday out at Lubbock. And so the seedings are set for the Big 12 women's basketball tournament, which gets underway Friday at the Peak and on with a couple of games. And then Saturday, everybody plays, and it will be bedlam on Saturday because OU and OSU will play each other in probably the worst case scenario for the Oklahoma City All Sports Association. They would like, because it's bedlam, if they're going to play each other, they would like for that to be probably in the evening for the seatings to be set up. You get the crowd revved up. But no, unfortunately, the way everything breaks, it will be the first game out of the box at 11 o'clock in the morning.
8 o'clock in the morning.
11, which is certainly better than 8.
Yeah.
But still, it's starting the day rather than maybe finishing the day or the middle of the day, something like that.
8 o'clock Pacific, I guess.
Yeah. And, of course, the Thunder playing the Los Angeles Clippers tonight, and the organization had no comment about the indictment of part owner Aubrey McClendon, who is facing federal bid rigging charges as a result of some of his alleged actions while he was chairman at Chesapeake Energy.
It's honest. It's a bit not ironic, but I was having this conversation with my geologist sister and geologist brother-in-law, her husband, back at Thanksgiving. They were then speculating at some of the activity that Aubrey had pulled off while at Chesapeake. Speculating, they are not lawyers, they're geologists, but they know energy law. And at that point, we're speculating, how can what he did be legal? By the way, what did he do? We'll get into the details of that a little later on News Radio 1000 KTOK, as we will with more details from Randy Renner on sports at 12 past 5 o'clock, 5:12. What happened with Super Tuesday? It was good for Oklahoma. I don't know if it was good if you're a Ted Cruz fan in the long run. We're not closing anything down. Unlike the national media, there are still possibilities that need to pan out, and we'll get into those possibilities on News Radio 1000 KTOK's Matthews in the Morning. You put me a big old lip lock on a Reuben sandwich. I'm Lee Matthews. One of my favorite things to eat at Wilshire Gun. Yeah, in the Range Cafe inside Wilshire Gun. Real soon, they're going to be offering full service right to your table and daily lunch specials and dinner specials too, plus a happy hour. And that is double for you if you're a member of one of their clubs. Check out the Range Cafe, whether it's for lunch or for dinner or happy hour or after a long, hard day of work and you want to get some shooting done. The Range Cafe inside Wilshire Gun, 1/2 mile west of the Broadway extension on Wilshire Gun.
There's always a moment of truth where I say, look, it's either put up or shut up. And it was time to put up. I had crossed that thin line. It was 100+ degrees. We were hot. We were on fire. We were yelling our hearts out. You could feel the intensity rising. Even in our tiredness, even in our weakness, even in our pain, we continued to push. I told myself, you can suck up the pain for another 1.5 miles, and you will be a Marine. Not many people believe that I could do it. I don't know where I got the energy from. I don't know where the pain went to. But all I know is that I had what it took. I am a United States Marine.
PFC Darrell Willis serves his country as a Marine. Will you? Visit Marines.com or call 1-800-MARINES. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Oh, hi. Do you know what this is the sound of? It's the sound of me getting rewarded for doing my part to prevent wildfires. See, right now I'm getting a big, remarkably heartfelt bear hug from Smokey Bear. Thanks, big guy. And now we're shaking. Okay. First, I made sure there were no low-hanging branches when I set up my campfire. Hey, Smokey, let me down for just a second. I need to make sure everyone can hear this. There we go. Then, when we were packing up to leave, I drowned out my campfire, stirred it, drowned it out again, and then made sure to feel it if it was cold. Oh, Smokey Bear really loves it when you do that, don't you, Smokey? Oh, he lets his hugs do the talking. Visit SmokeyBear.com to learn tips to prevent wildfires.
Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Only you can prevent wildfire.
Yes, indeed. It was an exciting night on News Radio 1000 KTOK. 5:15, 5:15. I'm Lee Matthews in the morning. Good morning. 5 minutes away from your forecast, which is going to be windy today. Emily Sutton has the highs and lows for you, too, and a chance of rain this weekend. Road King Rogers, no problems yet with traffic, but construction and slowing things down to one lane always bottlenecks things. Pain in the neck, I tell you. I am Lee Matthews in the morning. I tell you, pain in the neck. Why am I turning into Bernie Sanders before your very eyes? He did carry Oklahoma last night, and to me, there is no wonder. Now, I don't know how your polling place was. In fact, Sam writes, Lee, here's a photo of my polling place. And it's a picture of Sam in line on the Republican side and maybe two people on the Democrat side. Does that mean more Republicans showed up to vote than Democrats? Not necessarily, Sam. I do believe that there are more Republicans registered Republican and fewer Democrats registered in Oklahoma right now. Republicans are the dominant party, so therefore there will be more Republicans. I also believe the Republicans had more to vote for, and the Democrats had more to vote against. And the Democrats I know that are registered Democrat were all voting Bernie Sanders. And the reason they were voting Bernie Sanders was they did not want Hillary. And so their strategy was, okay, I'm a conservative Democrat. I'm going to vote for Bernie to get rid of Hillary, hopefully, in the general election. And then at general election time, flip over when you can open and vote to anybody you want, not party specific, for the conservative side. I honestly believe that's going to be what happens in Oklahoma and in Texas if Hillary is the nominee, which it looks like she will be. She, as of yesterday, even though Bernie Sanders carried Oklahoma, Vermont, and some other states, on the Democrat side, Hillary carried the rest, and she now has a total of 1,000 or so delegates going into the convention to determine who will be the nominee for the Democrat side in the presidential election. Now, on the Republican side, I was pleased that Cruz did dominate Oklahoma and Texas. I will tell you, I was really undecided up until I walked into the booth. And I literally flipped a coin and it came up Cruz. And I was happy with my decision. And you know why? Because I'm happy with what Cruz will do in terms of debate against Hillary. He will bring the facts. He will not dicker. He will not hold back. He will not get personal. And I also am happy with my decision because I know how Cruz will be when it comes to selecting a Supreme Court nominee, which he very well may have his opportunity if he's president to select 4, which would determine the Supreme Court for 30 to 50 years to come. So I'm glad he carried Oklahoma. Unfortunately, he didn't carry a lot of the other states. He carried some, but not a lot. And so what has happened is overall, Trump now leads with 200 or so, the 250 or so electoral votes. I'm sorry, not electoral delegates going into the convention. Cruz has 161 or so. Rubio around 80. The big loser last night, I think, was Rubio. But we'll get into this in just a minute on News Radio 1000 KTOK. I don't think Rubio's going anywhere. Another Sam Facebook's, Lee, you had Inhofe on yesterday and his endorsement of Rubio. Why is he going Rubio? Amnesty is not a conservative position. Why are they pushing him so hard? He's about as trustworthy as a used car salesman. And that's from Sam. Sam, I don't think that, and I don't think Rubio is pushing amnesty. I think Rubio is pushing a plan that I would support, and it's not amnesty. And again, I'm going to try to make this quick because I don't have time, but here's what I believe we need to do. We do not need immigration reform. We need migration reform. Our problem is not people who want to come to the United States, live, work, and raise a family here and become a citizen. That's not our problem because the people who want to do that are doing it. Our problem is the people who live in very poor states in Mexico and other countries who want to come into the United States, work out their 2-year visa or whatever the visa is at this point, and then go home. And then they come back, and then they go home, and then they come back, and then they go home. It's nothing for them to leave their family for 6-8 months a year, get paid a bunch of cash that they send home, and then they go back home and build on that extra part of their house, buy that new car, put that kid through college, whatever. We need to better accommodate those people and better document those people and, above all, tax those people so that their migration will pay for itself. 840-1000, star 1000 if you want to join in the conversation. I'm getting pops on social media left and right. I'll try to get to all of them. Also run through what happened last night with Super Tuesday and more of my analysis on News Radio 1000 KTOK. 20 past 5 o'clock, 5:20 and 43 degrees. Road King, I hope there aren't any problems this early in the morning.
Yeah, we're looking good. No major accidents reported so far. A lot of road work around town. The left lane of westbound I-44 will be closed between Lincoln Boulevard and Classen. It'll be 9 a.m. till noon this morning for some road work. All the ramps will stay open. Traffic brought to you by GoDaddy, where you can create a website, open an online store, or start a blog. You get a free domain with website from GoDaddy.com, starting at $1 a month. Annual purchase, a website builder required. Price valid first year only. See website for details. That's GoDaddy.com. Next traffic, 545. Road King Total Traffic Central.
Emily Sutton's forecast, forewarned storm team sunny. Gusty winds out of the south up to 45 miles an hour by this afternoon. Fire danger still pretty high, especially this afternoon and this evening, a high of 70. Clear tonight, 44 the low, partly cloudy tomorrow. Winds will be shifting out of the north, but still at 25 and a high of 66. 38 and 70, your lows and highs into Friday. 60% chance of rain by Sunday. 43 right now at News Radio 1000 KTOK. On the way, Super Tuesday winners and losers and the election results. And Jacqueline Scott with your news coming up in 9 minutes. That's at 5:30 on News Radio 1000 KTOK.
Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your basement. There's a pair of overalls that overall you're not so into anymore. A perfectly good laptop that hasn't sat in your lap in months. And even more stuff, but still no jobs? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed. And they're the stuff inside your stuff. Even inside that winter coat that moved with you to Phoenix. Our job is to unlock those jobs, and it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth parting with the leftover guitar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs. Find your nearest donation center at goodwill.org. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
We're going to get right to the heart of things. We're going to peel a layer off this onion, and we're going to take it head on, and especially when you have real pressing problems.
The things that really matter
I want to get right down to it here on this, and it's this.
are the things you'll hear.
I would like to know exactly what color is Mickey Mouse.
Weekday mornings at 8.
You'll see around the eyes and nose part of Mickey Mouse. He's white. He's clearly white.
The Glenn Beck Program.
Have you ever seen him without gloves?
Worldwide at KTOK.com.
It is time that this is exposed.
Wow, it's a really beautiful day out.
Sure, right now weather has you singing. But will you be ready when it gets ugly?
Whoa, it's getting ugly out here.
Our updates at the top and bottom of the hour keep you in tune with weather ahead.
To know what to wear.
So you don't get caught out in the storm?
Weather, it's music to your ears. On News Radio 1000 KTOK.
523 on News Radio 1000 KTOK. Good morning. Gordon already up and sending in some Facebook responses. The Donald has not met the convention requirements to get the nomination no matter how many states he has won, since none of those states are over 50%. That is a good point, Gordon, but see, there still are possibilities that could pan out. For instance, if Rubio stays in the race and does well in Florida, and Donald does not dominate the next 8 states where primaries and caucuses are held, then it will be a brokered convention. So, I mean, we're not out of the woods yet, and things aren't over, in spite of what the national media is trying to make us all believe. On News Radio 1000, KTOK. I'm Lee Matthews in the morning, 840-1000, star 1000, and Facebook and Twitter, too. Seems like in the morning, emails and Facebook seem to be a faster way to communicate, but either way you prefer, that's fine with me. Even though Cruz carried Oklahoma with 35%, Bernie Sanders carried Oklahoma on the Democrat side. Both were edged out of the delegate votes from other states for Super Tuesday. That's the bottom line right there. Trump now ahead with a total count of 285 to Cruz's 161, and Rubio a distant third at 81. These are the delegates they have received, committed delegates to the upcoming convention this summer to nominate the official presidential candidate. Trump is already, though, looking ahead to being up against Hillary.
I'm a unifier. I know people are going to find that a little bit hard to believe, but believe me, I am a unifier. Once we get all of this finished, I'm going to go after one person. That's Hillary Clinton, on the assumption she's allowed to run, which is a big assumption. I don't know that she's going to be allowed to run. And I think that's frankly going to be an easy race.
Well, and he is right. There is that possibility, or at least the possibility she will be tainted by anything that bubbles to the surface from this Benghazi controversy, which we may know about in the next 2 or 3 weeks because the emails are being released little by little, and we're learning more and more. And there's a lot that appears that Hillary did that even the least official in the State Department would have been allowed to do. I don't know if it's legal or not, but ethically and what the rules of the office call for, it's starting to lean against her. But we shall see. I mean, the Clintons always plow forward as though nothing's happened. That's one of the things that they learned from, I think, from the Nixon administration, because Nixon sat there and basically admitted guilt. They're like deny, 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 and pretty soon the press will get bored with you. Moving on, though, from Trump last night, and although down nationwide by 100 delegates, Cruz has not given up either.
Tonight, this campaign enters a new phase. We began with 17 Republican candidates. Through the first 4 states, the race narrowed considerably. Tonight was another decision point, and the voters have spoken.
Rubio hopes to surge in his home state of Florida. In fact, he was campaigning there yesterday evening when the final votes from Super Tuesday came in.
We never said Super Tuesday was our night. We said we were going to do well on Super Tuesday, but my campaign never claimed that on Super Tuesday would be the night that we surged.
And you must understand that if a candidate pulls out completely of the race, those delegates then go to the leader. So that's why there's a lot of suspension of campaigns rather than completely pulling out, because they will then hang on to their delegation. And then, again, that's why we call it a brokered convention, because then at the convention, they will then broker those delegates to whom they please and to whom makes them a better deal. Like Trump, Hillary Clinton is looking ahead to the battle later this summer and this fall, and I'm wondering if these comments were meant for Trump.
It's clear tonight that the stakes in this election have never been higher, and the rhetoric we're hearing on the other side has never been lower. Trying to divide America between us and them is wrong, and we're not going to let it work.
Even though you yourself have been a chief divider in the queen divider in chief, if you will, of campaign rhetoric. Trump now has to win a majority of the next 8 states, or there will be some brokering going on at the Republican convention, and I think that's why Rubio may be staying in the race. Most who voted for Sanders in Oklahoma, I think, will go to the Republican candidate, and I think that will also hold true for some of the other states that carried Bernie Sanders. And that'll be in the general election, because they're trying to force Hillary out. Now, that won't be the case in every state, but I think it will be the case in a lot of states. Tom writes, Lee, whatever you voted in last night's election, you got to admit, once again, the polling was wrong. And you're right about that, Tom, especially when it comes to Oklahoma, because all the polls I saw had Trump leading by 35%. And again, this points to we are in the midst of a bit of an upheaval when it comes to politics and political operatives. They're used to polls that are people on the telephone. And nobody has a landline telephone anymore. The ones who do have landline telephones don't answer them because they have answering machines. So very few people participate in telephone polling. And so that's why instead of a plus or minus 2 or plus or minus 3% error, a margin of error that you see in some of these pollings, you're seeing plus or minus 8, plus or minus 9. Well, that could be 5 or 10 points, percentage points. And that when you're talking about a close race like Cruz and Trump, who last night were between 35 and 31, depending on what time of night you looked at it, that could be a completely different sway. 840-1000 star 1000. Joey Gomez was in Washington, D.C. He'll give us an update on the rest of the states and how they fared and what's going forward in terms of the election process. It's 5:30 at News Radio 1000 KTOK. Jacqueline Scott is in the newsroom with the latest results. Good morning, Jacqueline.
Good morning, Lee. Good morning, Metro. We have Super Tuesday winners and losers. We're in the KTOK News Center. How about another taste of early spring? That's what we're going to get today. Our forecast is coming up. Ted Cruz won the Oklahoma Republican primary yesterday, leading Donald Trump by about 27,000 votes. Trump was second and Marco Rubio third in Oklahoma. Bernie Sanders won the Oklahoma Democratic primary with a commanding lead over Hillary Clinton. He led her by more than 34,000 votes in Oklahoma. On its way to the State House, a Senate bill to let voters decide whether wine and strong beer can be sold in grocery stores. There also would be changes that would affect alcohol distributors. Senate President Pro Tem Brian Bingman says it'll give consumers more options and spur economic development. The center portion of the Oklahoma City Boulevard project set to go to bid in June. Debbie Miller's with the city's Public Works Department.
The west section has been completed. The east section is scheduled to be completed in the summer of 2017, and this does include the railroad bridge.
She told the Oklahoma City Council yesterday that contracts for landscaping the boulevard are being negotiated. From the KTOK Weather Center and the forewarned storm team, it'll be partly cloudy today. We'll soar up to 70, and we'll have south winds at 30 miles an hour, plus gusts at up to 45 miles an hour today. Tonight will be partly cloudy with a low of 44. Tomorrow, partly cloudy with a high of 66, and on Friday, partly cloudy and 71. It's partly cloudy and 43 at the KTOK News Center. Your next news update at 6. I'm Jacqueline Scott, News Radio 1000 KTOK.
For news, depend on News Radio 1000 KTOK. For medical solutions for ED and low T, depend on Universal Men's Clinic. Call 698-1302 today.
This is First Oklahoma Ag. This report brought to you by the Oklahoma Farm Bureau, the voice of Oklahoma agriculture.
Hi again, everybody. This is Mike Dane. A shakeup taking place at Omaha, Nebraska-based grain trading firm Gavilon, making good on promises of big changes from Marubeni, the Japanese trading house and Gavilon's owner. Following struggles in its food division, they have replaced their CEO and Chief Operations Officer and North American grain boss. A letter sent to the Senate and House Budget Committee last week urges lawmakers to protect crop insurance from further cuts. The letter, signed by 58 farm organizations, tells lawmakers an over-reliance on savings from the agriculture community in the future that have faced an estimated 54% decline in net farm income. I'm Mike Dane.
Every day, pork producers across the country demonstrate care and concern for how pork is produced. They have a long-standing tradition of providing wholesome, high-quality, responsible products for people everywhere to enjoy. And be assured they're respecting natural resources, taking care of their animals, and contributing to our communities because nobody cares more. Funded by Oklahoma Pork Producers and America's Pork Checkoff Program.
MCM Incorporated is a full-service brokerage and risk management firm specializing in metals, energy, grains, and softs, and offering hedging strategies for producers and processors. This independent commodities brokerage firm offers more than 50 years of trading experience in the commodity futures and options markets. Check their website, mcmtrader.com, or give them a call, 800-658-9780.
Think you're fat? You might just be bloated. Find out by calling now for a free trial of New Biotics, the new breakthrough that flattens bloated bellies fast. For a free trial, call 1-800-990-1243. Strict limit of 1 per household.
I used to be plagued by potbelly and constant bloating. After taking New Biotics, my belly flattened and continues to get flatter. My sense of bloating and discomfort is gone.
If you've got a big belly, you might not be fat. You might just be bloated. New Biotics is scientifically formulated with natural ingredients to flatten bloated bellies fast by cleansing pounds of rotting food and toxic sludge from your body. It even combats periodic heartburn and acid reflux. If your belly flattening results are too dramatic, simply reduce use to every other day. Think you might be bloated? See how much flatter New Biotics makes your belly. But hurry, call now for details while we're still giving it away for free. 1-800-990-1243. That's 1-800-990-1243. 1-800-990-1243.
Aubrey McClendon indicted, and James Langford had a bill that was signed into law. We're covering all of that coming up on News Radio 1000 KTOK's Matthews in the Morning.
The Exquisite Corpse. A very unusual and completely amazing story pieced together out of so many parts that it is not possible to describe them all here, so go ahead and just start reading. The full moon lights the silver rails winding around dark mountains and over steep gorges of jagged rock and one freezing cold rushing black mountain river. I wish there was enough time to describe all of the funny twists and turns, especially the elephant clown party, that led up to now, but there isn't enough time because there is a ticking clock and the 2 passengers we care most about don't know anything about it. In a sleeping berth in the 3rd car from the end of the train are 2 children, 11-year-old twins who have just run away from the circus. The girl's name is Nancy, the boy's name is Joe. They have no idea that those are not their true names, though they will figure it out soon enough. To see what happens next, visit read.gov to read The Exquisite Corpse, a riveting adventure pieced together by John Sheska, Shannon Hale, Daniel Handler, and other popular authors. Explore new worlds. Read. This exciting message is brought to you by the Library of Congress and the Ad Council.
Fire up your DVR. It's time for your TV tip-off.
Wednesday, it's the premiere of The Real O'Neills, a new family comedy starring Martha Plimpton and J.R. Ferguson. See it Wednesday at 8:30, 7:30 Central on ABC before it moves to its normal time slot on Tuesday at 8:30, 7:30 Central the following week. On Thursday, the political thriller The Family kicks off about the return of a son who was kidnapped 10 years earlier and the questions that linger. Joan Allen and Allison Pill star, and it starts Thursday at 9/8 Central on ABC before moving to its permanent slot Sunday at 9/8 Central. Monday night, Bates Motel returns for season 4, followed by the premiere of Damien, based on the Omen film series and starring Bradley James and Barbara Hershey. The Night of Horror starts Monday at 9/8 Central on A&E. And that's your TV tip-off on iHeartRadio.
Hey, great party.
Thank you, and thanks for coming.
World is burning.
Hey, who's that guy?
It's getting worse every day.
Oh, that's Sean Hannity.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, it's getting sick.
Think we should call him a cab?
And sicker out there.
No, he doesn't even drink.
Just is.
He'll either drive you to drink.
The world is on fire. The world's ablaze.
Or sober you up.
The world's a mess.
Sean Hannity, weekday afternoons at 2.
We can all have a beer together.
On News Radio 1000 KTOK.
What happens when all the shooting's done? Find out on The Drive with Jason Doyle starting at 5 on News Radio 1000 KTOK.
Yeah, it's called a convention. News Radio 1000 KTOK. Join him this afternoon on News Radio 1000 KTOK's Drive with JD, Jason Doyle. I'm Lee Matthews in the morning, 5:38 right now, 22 before 6 o'clock. And we've got 43 degrees. Your weather in just about 5 minutes. From Emily Sutton, traffic 2. Right now, no problems, but a lot of construction to worry about. I am Lee Matthews. Precession, good friend of the show, writes to Facebook, Lee, you had a letter yesterday that I found interesting. The description of the student loan situation suggests all criteria for predatory lending to the economically illiterate, supposedly and abusively, is in practice. If only the student borrowers would realize they are not dependent upon the system, but rather the system is dependent upon them. They do not have to take on debt to buy a slipshod education at any inflated price. Without a dumb customer, the system would either have to be reformulated itself or go away. That isn't happening because customers just keep lining up semester after semester, no matter the price, so the system gets the signal that everything is fine. Bloat, expand, inflate. That's what customers want. Just so your listener wrote, it's a feature, not a bug. Debt is one of the features. If students don't want that feature, then shop somewhere else. That's from Precession. I agree with you, Precession, but here's the problem. And this is this is a systemic problem of our society. Too much emphasis is being put on college education, and too many people are attempting to get college education that probably should do something else. I'll give you an example. There's a member of my family who thought she wanted to be an architect, and she went into architecture school, and she got her undergrad, and everything was fine, and she was really enthusiastic about going on to grad school, which you have to do if you're going to be an architect. She was 2 years into grad school when she realized, I don't want to deal with everything architects deal with. I want to build buildings, sure. And I want to provide, places for people to conduct business and have homes. And it was then and only then that she realized she didn't want to be an architect. She either wanted to be in construction, a building contractor, or a real estate agent, none of which require you to have a degree. It was a huge revelation. Now, that is not to say the money and time she spent in undergrad in architecture would not benefit her wildly in construction, building contracting, or real estate. But you can see where if she had come to that realization 4 or 6 years earlier, she probably wouldn't have gotten herself into triple-digit debt doing something that she realized later. Now, well, everybody does that. Nobody's figured out completely what they want to do. I know, but that's what I'm saying. I'm saying the emphasis in higher education, whether it's junior high or high school, shouldn't be go to college, go to college, go to college, go to college. It should be figure out what you enjoy doing and then find a way to do that for a living and understand the ups and downs of everything. I fell in love with this business when I was 9 years old. I had no choice, literally. And when I was 14, old enough to take the FCC test, which you had to take at that time, to do what I'm doing, I took it and passed and won. And I was off on an adventure that has not stopped in 32, 34 years. So I was lucky. But in the course of going through high school and then into college, which I paid for myself, by the way, because I was working that entire time, I realized along the way, wow, as much as I love this business, there are good days and there are bad days. And no matter where you are, no matter what you're doing, there's always going to be somebody to screw with you just because they can. And sometimes you're going to have a good situation and sometimes you're going to have a bad. But none of that is pivotal on a degree from a college. Now, I got one, but the day I got out, my first thoughts were, wow, probably could have gone to trade school, gotten a ticket in the electronics repair of some sort, and saved about $5,000, $10,000. That said, I don't think it's predatory, but I think that there's a horrible sales job going on with the younger generation, and that is that you have to go to college or you can't get a good job. Facebook from Senator Stephanie Bice says she is rejoicing in the final vote of SJR 68, which went down yesterday afternoon, and it was a pass. It's going to put forth the vote of the people, whether they want single-strength beer and wine in grocery and convenience stores. #passed, she writes. So it passed. That's just Oklahoma. No. That's the whole state. The whole state will be voting on that probably in November. It'll be on the ballot probably this November, whether or not we want 6-point beer in the grocery stores. And you can count on Anheuser-Busch coming out of the woodwork. You can also count on the liquor store lobby coming out of the woodwork, that's fine. I think that's the way it should be. We'll take their money as well, yes. And at the end of the day, you know what? We're still going to get 6-point beer, whether we have to get it in the grocery store or whether we have to get it in a liquor store. I think we're going to get 6-point beer because I think, above all, that's what everybody wants in Oklahoma. A federal grand jury has indicted Aubrey McClendon on charges of conspiring to rig bids for oil and natural gas leases in northwest Oklahoma. The U.S. Department of Justice said yesterday The indictment claims that McClendon, 56, led a conspiracy between two large oil and natural gas companies, which agreed not to bid against each other for leases. The companies agreed which would win the leases, and the winner would give the interest in the leases to the other company, the indictment claimed. McClendon denied the claims Tuesday, saying he's only been singled out as the one person in the oil and gas industry in over 110 years since the Sherman Act has become law to have been accused of this crime in relation to joint bidding on leasehold. We don't know, but basically brokered leasing, if you will, is what the accusation is here. Two companies got together. There was a bunch of leases. And I don't know whether Robert McClendon had possession of those leases or not. He's got possession of a lot of leases, I know, which is one of the conditions of him leaving Chesapeake. And it would not be unlike... I'm sorry, let me do this again. It would be unlike Aubrey McClendon to try to use those leases to not make some sort of profit. Now, whether it did legally or not, we'll have to see when the court system all pans out. But that to me is some pretty surprising news. Aubrey McClendon, they're coming after him, and we'll see how that all pans out in the courts. It's 5:45 on News Radio 1000 KTOK. On the way in 5 minutes, we'll talk to Joe Gomez of 24/7 News about yesterday's Super Tuesday. Super traffic this morning, Road King.
Yeah, we're looking good. No major trouble. Streets and highways in great shape. Of course, hey, a big reminder, north and southbound Sooner Road is down to one lane in each direction between I-40 and Reno. That's every day through mid-March for resurfacing. So use extra caution in that area. Try by LifeLock to bank online to use public Wi-Fi. Your identity could be at risk. Protect it with the best. LifeLock, enroll in minutes. Your protection starts right away. Go to LifeLock.com. Use the promo code RISK to save 10%. LifeLock.com. Next traffic, top of the hour. Road King Total Traffic Central.
This report brought to you by 5-Hour Energy Shots.
Pretty high fire danger today, especially this afternoon and into this evening. The culprit, sunny, warm, gusty winds and a south wind at 45 miles an hour. That will be the gusts at least by this afternoon. It's pretty calm right now, but that'll be picking up as the sun rises and our temperature gets to a high today of 70. Clear tonight, 44 the low, partly cloudy tomorrow. Winds shifting out of the north at 25 miles an hour, 66 for the high. Our low will be 38 into Friday morning and 70 for a high. 60% chance of rain by Sunday. It's 43 right now at News Radio 1000 KTOK.
This report brought to you by 5-Hour Energy Shots.
Trouble waking up this morning? You're not alone. Next time, grab a great-tasting 5-Hour Energy Shot. It will help you stay feeling alert and productive when you finally run out of snoozes. Now is the time for 5-Hour Energy Shots.
And now a look back at this week in history.
1940, Gone with the Wind won 8 Academy Awards, including Best Supporting Actress for Hattie McDaniel, the first African-American to win an Oscar. U.S. Air Force Captain James Gallagher completed the first non-stop around-the-world flight this week in 1949. This week in 1960, the first Playboy Club opened in Chicago. 1961, the Peace Corps was established by President Kennedy. 1963, the hula hoop was officially patented by Whammo. In 1962, Wilt Chamberlain scored an NBA record 100 points in a single game. Please, Hammer, don't hurt him. The Sound of Music opened in theaters this week in 1965. March 3rd, 1991, LA police officers were videotaped beating motorist Rodney King. In 2004, Lord of the Rings Return of the King won a record-tying 11 Academy Awards, including Best Picture. And finally, this week in 2012, Vladimir Putin won Russia's presidential election, returning to power for an additional 6 years. Oh, I'm sure he'll quietly return to private life in 2018.
That's your look back at this week in history.
And now, the High-Tech Auto Report with Michael Garfield.
Trucks continue to gain market share across the industry, including the half-ton category. Be on the lookout for the new 2016 Nissan Titan XD. One option is the Cummins V8 turbo diesel engine. Early testing showed it can pull more than 6 tons with its built-in gooseneck hitch. Inside the cabin, options on the Titan XD include a color 7-inch Nissan Connect display for nav and entertainment. It'll also serve as the around view monitor to help maneuver into tight spots.
Would it be crazy if you packed your bags and left? Peace Corps. Life is calling. How far will you go? To find out more, call 1-800-424-8580 or visit peacecorps.gov.
Nah, 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 nah.
Some are staying.
Nah, 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 nah.
And some are...
I am suspending my campaign.
Goodbye. Jeez, use that Super PAC money and get some singing lessons, will you? You ain't kidding.
Oh, shut up.
Stay up on every changing tune we call...
Nah.
Election 2016.
Good riddance.
Oklahoma's election headquarters.
Hey. Goodbye.
Is News Radio 1000 KTOK.
Hey.
Shut up.
Ain't it fun?
5:49 on News Radio 1000 KTOK. It is fun. It's Wednesday, March the 2nd, and it's a peak of the week, so we're going to coast into the weekend together. Bob, I'm not going to give you your last name. I'm sorry, Bob. Via the Facebook says, Lee, I would like to say that I'm for putting 6-point beer in the grocery stores, but before they do that, I really need to put in a way to properly mark the bottles. A lot of the beer that I drink has no point working on it. And if you buy it cold, Rob, and you buy it in Oklahoma, it's 3.2. All right? If it's warm and you buy it in a liquor store, it's 6-point. And what's going to happen here is if this passes, it's got to go to a vote of the people first of all. And if it and you know what, I think it will pass. I really think it's going to pass because people want 6-point beer and they don't care where they buy it. They want 6-point beer. And I know these legislators probably are anticipating future business from places like Costco. I bet all the drugstores want to be able to sell it. Yeah, so again, with apologies to my good friends who run liquor stores that I support and will continue to support, the state, this is long overdue for our state. But if you look down at a can of beer and it doesn't have any markings on it other than put litter in its place, and it's cold and you bought it in Oklahoma, it's 3.2. Now, most of them you'll say says 3.2% by volume or 3.2% by weight. It'll be stamped into the can. The bottles, do they do that on the bottles? I haven't seen anything on the bottles. Anyway, you won't have to worry about that if this passes, Rob, because they're not going to sell 3.2 anymore. Nobody's going to sell 3.2 because they won't need to. It's 5:50 on News Radio 1000 KTOK, and again, I think this is a good thing. We'll get more into the Aubrey McClendon indictment in just a little bit. Later on, too, James Lankford signed a bill. He's produced a bill that has been signed by the president, probably the first ever. And the state Senate votes to allow National Guard to defend themselves. That coming up. But right now on News Radio 1000 KTOK, Joey Gomez of 24/7 News. Even though Cruz and Sanders won in Oklahoma, their total delegate count didn't trump Trump nor Hillary. So my question is, Joey, does Rubio have a chance at all right now?
Well, I would say that for Rubio, it's going to be a very hard pathway to victory for him. He won in Minnesota in the GOP caucuses in Minnesota, but that was the only state that Rubio was able to win. Ted Cruz, as you pointed out, won in a big way in Texas, also won in Oklahoma. Looks like he also has won in Alaska. But Donald Trump basically had a sweeping victory everywhere else, in Virginia, in Tennessee, in Georgia, in Massachusetts, in Vermont, Bernie Sanders territory. Donald Trump had a really big turnout.
And I don't know about your polling place yesterday, but in my polling place, I had 2 or 3 people in front of me that were frustrated because they were independents. In Oklahoma, we are semi-open, so they were frustrated. They were only allowed to vote either Democrat or nothing because Republicans in this state don't allow independents to vote. I'm wondering how many people overall yesterday didn't realize they were really voting for a nomination process rather than an election process.
Well, that's an interesting question. I think that, based on what we've seen so far anyways, Donald Trump has really been around 34, 38% in terms of wins in various states. But I think that that suggests that maybe he does indeed have some kind of a cap on him.
Now, what is the? Do we know what the delegate count is? I mean, how far behind is Cruz from the Trump?
Well, I think that Cruz is about 100 delegates or so behind Donald Trump, and Rubio is actually, I think, about 200 delegates behind Donald Trump once everything is said and done. So I think that Cruz actually may be the establishment's choice in trying to best Donald Trump. I'm not sure if Rubio's going to be able to, actually get some decent wins in there, be competitive for the convention in the summertime.
And the convention is, this still may come down to the wire. I know I'm seeing from national media and opinion, hey, the Donald's running away with it, and he may. But I'm also wondering if, something's going to happen in convention where things are going to start to turn around and it'll get a little closer.
Well, it's entirely possible. I think that, by this time around, the next couple of months when the GOP meets in Cleveland for their annual convention, it's entirely possible that there may be some kind of a brokered convention or some kind of a deal hashed out between Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz, or fill in the blank. I think because there still is this kind of searching going on, this panic among establishment Republicans that Donald Trump is going to run away with the nomination, and they don't want him to do that.
Joey Gomez of 24/7 News. On the Democrat side, Bernie Sanders, although he carried Oklahoma and Vermont and a couple of other states, he overall, and again, is this a winner-take-all kind of thing, or it's just we're looking at total counts of delegates?
We're looking at total counts of delegates on the Democratic side, but Hillary Clinton looks to pretty much be the nominee, I think, for the Democratic Party. Sanders carried Oklahoma and Colorado, also an additional state, his home state of Vermont, but was unable to be competitive on the same level that Hillary Clinton was.
Well, I'm using the victory in Oklahoma of Sanders as an example of those who are registered Democrats in Oklahoma are fed up with Hillary. The ones I spoke with, their main thing was, I'm voting Sanders, not because I want Sanders to win, but because I don't want Hillary to be in the running. Now, that vote has been mooted out, I realize, but I'm also wondering how many of those registered Democrats are now going to, in the general election, flip back over to a conservative side.
Oh, possibly. I think that, it probably is a rejectionist vote against Hillary Clinton, but this could also be very indicative of her weaknesses if she were to run against even someone like Donald Trump. I think there'd be a large rejectionist vote against Clinton potentially in the general election, and that would mean something very good for a candidate like Donald Trump.
And she's already coming after Donald Trump. I've got that story up on Facebook and on the KTOK webpage, News Radio 1000 KTOK.
This is a Bloomberg Market Minute. Futures this morning are higher. ADP tells us its take on the employment situation this morning when it releases its private sector payroll report. Analysts expect a gain of 190,000 jobs. Later in the day, the Fed releases its latest beige book with anecdotal snapshots of the economy across the country. Hospitals are stepping up their efforts to stop Anthem's takeover of rival health insurer Cigna, saying the deal will increase the dominance of Blue Cross Blue Shield plans and could raise premiums for consumers. The American Hospital Association told the Justice Department the increased bargaining power of the Blue Cross plans will undermine competition. DreamWorks Animation would be interested in a merger with Viacom's Paramount Pictures if it could find a financial partner to back the deal. That's according to CEO Jeffrey Katzenberg. And McDonald's will close some of its worst-performing restaurants in the U.S. Last year, it closed 91 domestic locations as it worked to jumpstart sales with all-day breakfast, a new menu, and faster service. Patrice Sikora, Bloomberg Radio.
This is First Oklahoma Ag. This report brought to you by the Oklahoma Farm Bureau, the voice of Oklahoma agriculture.
I'm Mike Dane. The Oklahoma Cattlemen's Association has led the efforts in collecting signatures of beef producers who are in favor of having the opportunity to vote on an Oklahoma beef checkoff. OCA Executive Vice President Michael Kelsey.
We're still in that signature collection process. If a producer has not had an opportunity to sign the petition and desires to do so, obviously they can give our office a call or call any of our partner offices, AFR, Farm Bureau, Dairy, if you're a dairy producer. All those folks, they have access to petitions so that livestock markets as well. So we're still in that process. We're excited about it. We have a goal to finish this up this year and turn those signatures in sooner rather than later, and then that way we can move forward for a referendum later this year.
In Oklahoma, there are those who drive pickups and those who understand that it's good to know someone who does. It's not some sort of status thing. We just all work hard at what we do and come together when we need to. Now that's what you call a good policy. AFR Insurance, protecting Oklahoma autos, homes, farms, and lives since 1905. To find an AFR agent near you, visit iafr.com.